Hi everyone. Today we're going to look at chapter 15 for our discussion. And so here we're moving back to Jennifer's side of the story. And this is a shorter chapter too. So she had to confront the fact that she made a huge mistake. And one day she's out with her kids and she runs into Phil Mosley. And he was the defense attorney for Ron in the first trial. And instinctively, I shrink from him. He says, I just wanted you to know that despite all the trials, I am so sorry for what happened to you back then. And Jennifer says, I felt so ashamed and guilty. And he says that you are in my prayers all the time. She says, I blinked at him, stunned, and then turned back around. I could scarcely breathe because I was fighting tears and I could not start crying in front of my kids. All these years I had thought of Phil Mosley as a hideous bastard. I hated him as I hated Ronald Cotton. His kindness was simply too much to bear. So she's got a lot of emotions that she's dealing with right now. Frontline calls her to see if she will talk about her story, about her mistaken identity. And she says, why would I want to go on national TV and admit that I have picked the wrong guy not once but twice? But here's the thing. While Mike and Vinny both worried about the effects of me reliving it all on camera, in the end I decided I needed to do it. It was the beginning of a shift in me, a shift that really began when I found myself face to face with Phil Mosley, unable to justify the hatred I had for him. The mistake I made affected so many lives, and I still had so many questions about how it could have happened. Before it happened to me, I didn't think a mistake like this was even possible. And she still sees Ronald Cotton as her perpetrator, as her rapist. I knew it was risky to show my face on TV, but there was no longer any way I could pretend that I had put the rape behind me. Finally, I agreed on the condition that I have no contact with Ronald Cotton, whom they were also asking to participate. But the people who were filming this kept telling her that Ronald Cotton was a really wonderful guy and that he wasn't angry at all. So, like he was hearing little tidbits about her, she was hearing little tidbits about him. And so, the episode of Frontline is called What Jennifer Saw. It aired in February '97. It's not online for you to see, but like I had said in one of the other videos, if you are interested in seeing it, it's a really good episode. Um, Whenever we get back onto campus, or you can check out books at the library, you can actually borrow a copy, a DVD copy of this episode from a library at a different university. So when you go to the library, you can get the books from our library, but then there's also something called iShare. And so it can search, if we don't have the book at our library, you can search other libraries at other colleges in Illinois to see if they have it and you can borrow it. So Jennifer decides, I'm going to watch this by myself. And on it, she hears Ron say, I would like to hear what she has to say in her own words to me. And she just sobbed. How do 11 years pass when you are locked up for a crime you didn't commit? I couldn't begin to imagine. For me, they were 11 years measured in birthdays, first days of school, Christmas mornings. Ronald Cotton and I were exactly the same age, and he had none of those things because I'd picked him. He'd lost 11 years of time with his family, 11 years of falling in love, getting married, having kids. He looked forlorn on the television, hurt and bewildered. The guilt suffocated me. So, when you're going through something like this, there needs to be some kind of closure. And so she finally reaches out to Mike, and Mike says, I know what you're going to say. You want to meet Ron. Mike already knew. And so she wants to meet with Ron. And we find out it's been 2 years since his release. Vinny supported it because he thought it might help me. You've got to do something, he said. You can't go on like this. Her sister was pissed. She was against the idea. She thought there was too much information out there about me and she feared for the kids. She said, he was no choir boy, you know that? You know he didn't live a right life before. You probably did him a service. He'd have probably wound up in jail anyway. And Jennifer says, you don't know that. We don't really know who he is. I just know that I took him away from his family for so many years it's not right. And Janet says, you don't owe him anything, Jennifer. It was a mistake. Do you think Jennifer owes him an apology? When you do something wrong, do you feel like you need to apologize for that to make amends? And that, I think, is what the battle was inside for Jennifer. Um, and what her sister Janet kept saying is the same thing people in society, white people, have been saying about George Floyd. That, oh, he was a horrible person anyway. That doesn't mean you kill him. That doesn't mean you take 11 years away from Ron. And as we learn from Ron's story, it wasn't like he was raping someone like Bobby Poole raped someone. It was he had gotten drunk, gone into his girlfriend's room. She got scared, and the parents, pressed charges. It wasn't this. He wasn't a violent monster. But that's not what they're seeing. And again, think of her family. Because we learn here her parents still haven't seen it, and they tell her, "Well, honey, if that'll make you feel better, then go ahead and meet him." But they still are like, "It's done. Get over it, Jennifer. We're all, just get over it, and let's just put it to the side and move on." And Jennifer's like, "I can't. As a victim, you can't. You have to process through it. You have to get some kind of closure." And here we find out that she made such a terrible mistake, and she hurt someone else. And you can't just walk away from that. You have to deal with that, confront it, and apologize it. So I'm glad she didn't listen to her family. Good Lord. That's the other thing about families that people always say, well, they're family, you have to put up with them. No, you don't. Unless they're paying for your clothing, food, and shelter, unless you're dependent on them for survival, it's a choice. As an adult, it's a choice if they are in your life or not. And I think more people need to kind of see that. So just because they're family doesn't mean that they're in your life. And so I'm glad in this case, Jennifer, and we'll see this in the rest of the book for week 8, that it's really a good thing that Jennifer took this step. All right, so we're done with chapter 15, and then we're going to be on to our discussion of chapter 16.